What's up, everybody? You are back on the other side with me, Mike G, and today I'm honored to bring you the story of one of the most fearless and dynamic athletes in combat sports today. She is known for her grit, relentless drive, and powerful presence inside the ring, and has carved out a path that inspires fans and fighters alike. She has overcome challenges in and out of the ring to become a symbol of passion and perseverance, and literally brings heart to every fight. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to introduce you to the five-time reigning BKFC strawweight champion of the world, Britain Hart. How's it going, Britain?
Hey, what's up, Mike G? What
I'm
an
doing
awesome
well.
introduction. Thank
Thank
you.
you. That took me 3 hours.
Really, no, that
So
was
thank you.
amazing. It's just, it puts the biggest smile on my face and just makes my soul feel so alive to just know where I've started and where, some of our past stories and struggles, just to be here today and know that anything's possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like to start at the very, very beginning. Tell me about where you're from and what life was like for you as a kid growing up.
Yeah, so I was born in Utah, which is probably really surprising to a lot of people. I do kind of put it out there, so maybe more people as they get to know me are like, "Oh yeah, we knew that." But I was born in Utah. I was on a military base, so I grew up,
Okay.
not with one parent, but both my parents were in the Air Force, and so that led us to moving to Turkey when I was really young. So I don't
Wow.
remember Utah at all, but I grew up in Europe until I was 11. So I moved back to the States then where it was just really rough. And I was actually just telling someone the story the other day. Like, I loved flowers. And in like the late 90s and early 2000s, flowers were not cool. It was like the Jinko jeans, the bandanas, the fake tattoos.
Yeah.
And so I was like really hardcore, like bullied. People would make fun of me. It was a really hard time adjusting. I actually didn't start adjusting probably until I was like 14, 15. And then it was, I had found my place, which is funny that brings us to today because I found it through sports. I played soccer over in Germany. I was playing
Oh,
soccer
wow.
when I was 5. So when I came to the United States and played on the team, like everyone would be mean to me. And so, oh, I did something great on the soccer field. Then all of a sudden, people were like, "Oh, okay," and I started helping winning games and scoring the winning goal. And I played basketball, and I was freakishly tall when I was a kid. It's kind of funny. I was, as 14 years old, literally all my doctor charts from to like 14 years old to I'm 35 today are all 5'7", around 120 to 130. It doesn't fluctuate from those 10 pounds. So it was just wow. So, anyways, I was super tall where all the other
Hmm.
girls really kind of didn't catch up until later when I was like a senior in high school. But I love sports. Sports was my passion. It helped me connect with people. It helped me in my own life. My family really struggled with adjusting from military life to civilian life. And so
Sure.
my family went through a lot of hardship and just a lot of like personal things and matters, but it really kind of like put a wedge in that. And then when I was 18, I was one of those textbook small town girls, got pregnant, got knocked up, and I'm working as a waitress now. I'm working at all these jobs. Then I got a scholarship to go to college, so I didn't let that interfere with my life. And I don't know how I did it. It was probably one of the hardest things, like really, as an accomplishment to work and be a mom, pay for daycare. I had no financial help. I had no family support. I was only in it like by myself. Like, thank God
Right.
my coworkers and friends were really like my biggest allies in that moment. But
Hmm.
that was its own struggle, but I did it, and it was because I was so passionate about the future and making the best future for my son, and then later on down the road my daughter. But I
Hmm.
hated my life at one point, a couple points in time in my life, and it was always sports, whether it was soccer. Then when I was 26, I found boxing, and that
Hmm.
saved me from another horrible pitfall of my life. And so, yeah, it seems like, going way back from when I was young, it was always kind of handling adversity and blossoming through it no matter what.
How did you get into the sport of boxing?
So I had just graduated. I had got my master's degree, and
Nice.
I was, really straight and narrow, had, was really focused and did all that. But in that time, I had become relationship. And I didn't really see all the signs in the beginning because it was just like so much on my plate. And then by the
Hmm.
time it was like too late, it was a really abusive relationship. The guy was a drug addict. And so it went from, whoa, not knowing anything about that life and being like really never experiencing it before to experiencing it at the most highest,
Yeah.
craziest, intense level. And I'm like, man, I have to like help this person and be there. And he's not beating me because of me or because there's something wrong with me or he doesn't love me. It's because of the drugs. Like if he wasn't on this, he wouldn't act so violent and have these violent mood swings. So I was trying to stay in it, but still protect everything and keep,
Sure.
from being in a military family, it's like, don't ask, don't tell, and smile. Like I was really good at smiling and keeping going and
Hmm.
not letting anybody know what was really going on behind
Keep
closed
it in
doors.
house.
Yeah, but finally I ended up, it was one thing that happened and I resulted in me having to be in an ambulance and go to hospital.
Hmm.
And after that, I started drinking really, really bad. And then I got a DUI. And so that was really, I got arrested for one. Um, so that was rock bottom for me. My whole life was just seriously everything I had worked for. Like I said, it was literally at the time that I had graduated, this huge accomplishment, all this hard work, and I
Hmm.
literally flushed it down the toilet over one situation that just down spiraled completely. And then someone was like, "You need to go in a boxing gym," obviously being in an abusive relationship and stuff like that. And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." But they're like, "Yeah, I don't have a license," but they were up. And at that point in time, I really didn't. It was just like, like let's just go for the like. I absolutely just wanted to die and could care less if I punch in the face or anything. Sorry, everyone's like, "You're really good." And I mean, I guess that goes to say from all the things that I experienced, unfortunately, not that I wanted to, but you get that instinct in you and react. And so I turned pro 4 months later. I didn't have an amateur fight. Obviously I had a lot of fights in my own house and on the
Hmm.
streets and in my own, youth of being bullied and
Right.
playground fights. But I went pro 4 months later, and it was one of those moments when I walked out on that catwalk for that first boxing match. I was like, "Oh my god, this is why I'm here!" Like it just, even with everything that I'm sharing, that was so like seriously nightmare type of
Hmm.
stuff. If I really said like some of the real stories and memories I remember, they're complete nightmares.
Yeah.
And just to be somewhere where all those nightmares were like they didn't even matter anymore. It
Hmm.
was that was why this is my purpose and goal on earth.
Yeah.
And it's you have to trust in God and the universe that it sucks. Like we always ask, why did you do this to me? Why me? Why couldn't I handle this? But there is weirdly deep down a reason for it.
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you about your pro debut. October 19th, 2016, the Grady Cole Center in Charlotte,
Yeah.
North Carolina, against Crystal Sutton. Walk me through that fight and the emotions that come with getting a debut win.
Yeah, that was exactly that moment. I'll never forget it. It was just so nervous, so unsure of myself. I have no idea where my life is seriously out of control. But when I got on that catwalk, it was
Hmm.
just like the best euphoric feeling ever. And it wasn't nerves. It wasn't, oh my God, I'm scared. I tell everyone that ring is a safe place. Like
Hmm. Let's
imagine
go.
being home and there's no referee, there's no time limit, there's no one if you have a cut on the face to stop
Hmm.
it. There's none of that. And so it was like, oh, sigh of relief in a way. Like, wow, this is all I got to do. Like, and there's gloves on. Like, let's go. And then when I
Yeah.
won, it was a very cool experience. But what was after was really what I remember. And being like, now that I've shared a little bit about my past life and just
Hmm.
having such little support and really not feeling loved at all. Well, after the fight, these strangers in the Grady Cole Center are coming up to me. Oh, can I get a picture with you? Oh, you're so awesome. Oh, I
Yeah.
can't believe you fight. You're so pretty. It was like, that was, I mean, I guess maybe a little bit selfish, but at the same time, those people have no idea how much they
Hmm.
meant to me. I mean, I'm still great friends with Bonnie Mann, and she's an all-time legend in women's boxing, truly a pioneer of it. And I met her there, and what she said to me there, I'll never forget. And it was that I needed, and it really changed my life. And Bonnie probably knows now what my story is, but she didn't know then. She didn't
Right.
know, and it's just proof that you can change someone's life and trajectory of where they're going just by that simple amount of love. Like, I still
Yeah.
have pictures with people. I feel bad. I don't know their names, but I still have those pictures saved on my
Yeah.
phone where people asked me to take a picture with them. And it was so crazy that I needed that so badly in my life.
Hmm.
And that small amount of love in that one day made me say, this is worth it. Be invested in this and this greatness and this respect, and this is how you're going to be loved.
Yeah.
And it
That's
was
awesome.
amazing. It really was.
Um, See, moving up to May 25th, I think it was 2019, you take on Carly Beatty. Um, how important to your boxing career was that win?
Oh man, what a story that was. I had just fought and I had some stitches in my eyebrows
Hmm.
like 4 weeks before. And I was, again, just still like, just from everything, like I have, I'm sure people can piece it together, but I do suffer from like extreme PTSD. So that's just something that, like, I'm sure a lot of people can relate, that we do
Hmm.
heal and people help us get better and we move forward with our life.
Absolutely.
But there are triggers and certain things that set you back. And so, with having and living a life with PTSD, it does flare up. I'm so happy to say, like today, where things would derail me for months or weeks, now it's like not even, like, I would say days and maybe even
Hmm.
hours. But that was a point in my time in life I hadn't figured it out. So I was super depressed and just really, again, kind of like going back into like the same type of like isolation. And I was
Hmm.
like, no, I need a fight. I need a fight. So someone offered me this fight for very, very low money. And I was like, I don't care. I need it to stay healthy and stay
Hmm.
mentally sound. I don't care about the money at this point, which is kind of another big reason why it started, since, again, being rock bottom, you know, that's one of the prerequisites of being rock bottom, is you have no money.
Yep.
So this was a way to get money to fix some of these issues that were going on.
Hmm.
But in that fight, I just needed it because I was struggling mentally and emotionally. And so I asked for the fight, and a lot of people are like, you're stupid, Britt. Don't fucking take that fight. That girl, they're using you. They're giving this girl, it's her retirement fight. She's a good fighter. Like, don't take this. And you have stitches. All she has to do is hit you one time. It's
Hmm.
going to open up. I was like, no,
Yep.
I know I can beat her. I got this. I'm going to do it. And I called, like, I had at that time a board of directors that I was very like strategic and smart with. And I called and asked a bunch of them what they thought. And most of them were on the don't do it. But all you need is really one person to be like, all right, this is what you need.
Hmm.
Here's what you're going to do. And this is how I'm going to help you, advice wise. So
Right.
I remember I went in there and I was ready for it. I needed this fight, right? I needed it. And I knew I could win. I go in and it's whatever, no big deal. I'm ready to do it. And then Carly walks in. The whole place erupts. It's a sold out arena. Roy Jones Jr. was there. So it was a big epic card. And she came out and the whole place erupted. And it
Hmm.
was so funny. I was like, oh man, this is going to fucking hurt. Never mind. Like, I was instantly, again, derailed. Like, all my belief was just like, all right, never mind.
Hmm.
But someone said something to me and it really like sparked me. They're like, shut this crowd up. And I was like, ooh. And I went in there, and I mean, it was an absolutely dominant performance. It was
Hmm.
such a great fight. Everyone loved it. But I really walked away with like no marks at all. It was an entertaining, great boxing fight. And, being in a hometown, being someone who
Yep.
knows a lot about the politics of boxing, you don't really get hometown wins. You might get robbed and at best a draw. But this one, it was so convincingly that I won. Like there was no doubt about it. So they gave me
Right.
the win. And I remember Roy Jones Jr., who I had already had, a relationship with and, friendship and mentorship. He was like, yo, his whole team was just so ecstatic. Like, you put a wrench in their plan. Like they were all just laughing. I remember getting in the elevator after the fight and they were all in there and they were just dying laughing. They're like, girl, how did you do that? Like, it was an awesome, it was one of my all-time favorite boxing fights for sure.
Hell yeah. Awesome. The final fight of your boxing career came in 2020 against Kim Wabick. How's it pronounced?
Wabick.
Wabick. Okay. Sorry, Kim. In a rematch of a previous draw. Talk me through that fight, and did you know at the time that that would be your last professional boxing match?
No, I didn't actually. But again, oh man, it's like got the story of my life. It's just on repeat. But again, another really messed up moment in my life. And I was living up in Philly and I had a really, really good team around me. So they were
Hmm.
really like, I remember Coach D. I really need to call him because he's called me a couple times. I've just been so busy. But Coach D, man, he was such an impact on my life. And that was one of those fights I did for the rematch, and it
Hmm.
was kind of during COVID, if I'm not mistaken. It was in that
Yeah.
COVID era, so it was really weird. There was like limited people that could go in, and you were just lucky to get a fight at that point.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the reason why I took it. But I knew from the first time I had fought her that I could beat her. It was just I had a horrible coach, horrible game plan, horrible life, so it just didn't go my way. But this one, I'm like, man, I'm determined. And I remember, again, someone saying something. They're like, make sure you hit her in the body because that girl's like a zombie fighter. You can just
Hmm.
rock her. One of those fighters that just keep going no matter what.
Yeah.
She was that fight style. So Coach D looked at me. He goes, we had this saying. I still use it to this day, but it was really big back then. And it was 1,000 dreams. And he says, remember, baby girl, 1,000 dreams. This is one of them. Go get your 1,000 dreams. And it was that statement that just like fueled me so much. I went in there and man, it was again the coolest. I mean, I think really in boxing, bare knuckle, I've felt it a couple times, but in boxing, it was the only fight of my career that I ever felt that I was like a killer. Like I've never really felt like
Nice.
that. I've been like more cognitive fighter, like I'm more focused and playing chess. Like I don't want to kill you, like
Hmm.
like I'm really not that mean of a person. But in this fight, it was like a shark smell blood or something. I don't know what it was,
Right.
but it was I mean, it's a high that you always kind of remember that's
Hmm.
almost
Sure.
scary, but you wish you could recreate, but it's so scary you don't know if you want to. But I was like, yo, became a different person in that fight. Like that was one. And when I hit this girl in the face, it's really the only time in my life I ever felt someone's soul leave their body. Like I hit her and I felt her soul leave. And I was like, oh my God. And that brought out like that again, and it was a first round and it was a
Hmm.
headshot. She dropped down. She got back up. The ref like was talking to her. Then the bell rang. They went over to the ring and all of a sudden I see her or the ref waving off
Hmm.
this and sorry, let me get that real quick.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
I got two phones, but so the rep is waving, and I'm like, oh man, something happened. I find out later. He goes up to her and he's like, Kim, are you okay? And she's like, huh? And he's like, do you know where you are? And she was like, huh? And he was like, do you know what day of the week it is? And she said Wednesday. And when she said Wednesday, I mean, it was a Friday. He's like, oh, hell
That's
no.
it.
So I'm like, just, I did want to, I definitely was just overhyped. Like I said, different person. So we all know
Right.
like some of the crazy things I do after getting in fights. So it was one of those. But I don't think, I feel bad in a way because I like the girl. She didn't do nothing personal to me. I remember listening to one of her interviews and she was super nice. But I don't think that she's had a boxing match since that fight. So my heart and
Retired her.
prayers do go out to her that was her first loss. She had a draw
Hmm.
before from me, but it was her first loss. But the first time she had like a good amateur background. Like I think she had like 40 fights in the amateurs and she had never been knocked down before,
Oh wow.
never dropped. So it was cool to know that inside me that I have it. And I mean, I still haven't really been able to recreate that necessarily, but man, I know it's there and inside.
Yeah. All right, it's bare knuckle time. Tell me about the first time you saw bare knuckle or were exposed to it, and what drew you to it.
Yeah, I remember they offered me a fight, but I was already in fight camp for a really great boxer, Sacred Downing, in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And I was like just polite. I said, thank you for thinking of me, maybe later down the road, but I'm really focused on boxing right now.
Hmm.
So I had the boxing match. I didn't win, but again, a great, epic, amazing fight. And so I was really down about that. Like, man, like I am just really freaking trying to figure this shit out. And it's hard to do with no money. And then bare knuckle was like, here we go. Here's this fight. And I'm like, man, like, I'm not trying to do it for the money now. I'm really wanting to do it to be great. Like, I want to win. Like, I don't want to keep getting draws and losses and be this
Right.
girl that people, I'm starting to figure out the game now. I'm figuring out the politics. So
Hmm.
I didn't want to. And they were like, look, Britt, they're trying to put me against this UFC girl. It's like, looks like a monster. I mean, she's just like the most meanest
Yep.
looking fighter you could probably find in the women's division. And I'm like, damn, I don't want to do that. And they asked me again. They're like, look, she's just a name. Like you have so much heart and grit. The sport is made for you. We really believe you can be a star in it. Boom. That was all it took. I'm obviously super easy to persuade. Like if you want to, get me to do something, just be like, you're really great, Britt. And I'm like, oh, all right, let's go jumping off this bridge. You think I'm really great, but yeah, so I was like, all right, you know what? I started finding out, I was asking everyone about it. And again, the board of directors thing came into play.
Hmm.
And some people were like, no, that's crazy. Absolutely not. And some people were like, well, why not? If you need the money, use the money,
Yeah.
go over to California. At the time, California was like literally the solution to all my problems. So I ended up taking the fight. I was like, just do it, use the money, get out to California, and then be on with it. But if I'm gonna do anything, I'm not gonna half-ass it. I'm gonna do it 100%. So I actually was working for the Carolina Panthers at the time. I went in and they were really supportive of my boxing career. They were some of my greatest friends and allies. Like I said, in my
Hmm.
lifetime, my coworkers have been some of the biggest backbone and support system. Well, I
Yeah.
still try to work to this day because it was a life-changing relationship to have. Like my coworkers have been there for me more than anybody else has been. So
That's awesome.
um, I go to them and I'm like, look, this is, what am I doing wrong? I'm working, I'm juggling this, I'm juggling that. I have too much on my plate. Let me see what I can do if I just focus on training. So I quit my job with the Panthers the right way. I gave them that 2 weeks notice. And then I ended up just training. I put all my eggs in the bare knuckle basket, which everyone tells you not to do, but I did. And it came out, man, I mean, I still think I won to this day. And even though on paper it was a split decision, it still was a win. And the fact people knew who I was, it was a main event as a woman. That's huge to be,
Hmm.
it was bare knuckle number 2. So it was the second show
Yeah.
ever. And I won the hearts of so many people and the attention. And again, it goes back to that very first fight. Afterwards,
Hmm.
Queen, um, MMA media were somebody who was really inspiring and crazy, like made me just believe in myself so much more to like keep going and don't give up. And the amount of like people were sending me fan mail and autographs, and
Hmm.
it was just wow, I couldn't believe it. So that was my first bare knuckle experience.
All righty. 2021, you get paired up against Paige Van Zandt, who at the time was a pretty high-profile opponent in BKFC, I guess you could say. What were your thoughts on her as an opponent going into that fight, and did it play out the way you thought it would?
Yeah, I like Paige. I knew that when she got signed and from the Randine fight that she had commentated, I went over and had that little, I mean, epic, awesome viral moment where I said that she's fucking next. Um, that fight was probably, I mean, really looking back on it now, I find like I'm so amazed, and it just shows again anything's possible. I didn't think anything would beat that experience. That was the all-time belt experience. Even though I didn't even win a belt for that fight, that was like one of the, I just couldn't see anything topping that moment. The way they did it, the promos for it. There was that 3-part episode that released every Friday to Road Hart versus Van Sant, which if you guys get a chance to check it out on YouTube, it's so awesome. It's literally 2 different girls, completely different backstories. I mean, unbelievably night and day difference. And
Yeah.
it's just so amazing to watch it unfold. And then to go and be at that fight, there was so much, we had a media workout, which was the first time I've ever done that. You see that stuff on TV, and
Sure.
there's so much behind that. Like, I wish boxing and combat sports would do more of that, because that was like, man, it just really made the whole experience full throttle. But yeah, and then the fight itself was, everything in the ring. It was like, oh my gosh, we prepared for this at my coach Haas out in California. Again, a solution to all the problems, was such an amazing mental force for me. And then my OG coach Luck, was there. It was like everything that I really needed to have that wow moment. And that was a wow moment.
Yeah.
And winning was obviously just mind blowing. My tooth got knocked out. My bottom teeth were knocked out. So I was in like the world's worst pain, trying to keep it all together. And I was so hyped. I remember being like, oh my God, my face hurts. But then people would be like, hey, great job. And I'd be like, yeah, let's go, picture. And then they put the camera down and be like, oh, it hurts so bad. But it was so worth it. It was so worth it.
That's amazing. Hollywood, Florida for Knucklemania 2 against Christine Faria in a rematch. You've had a few of those. For the BKFC flyweight belt, unfortunately, the fight didn't go your way. But as they say, you learn more from your losses than your wins. So what did you learn after going round 6 through 10 with the flyweight champ?
Yeah, that was exactly, you said it better than me. And it's almost like now looking back on it too, like all these like little cliche sayings, but it's like, man, I look at her and I'm like, I really failed my way to greatness. Like, because that fight at that time, I was getting a lot of like negative publicity. A lot of people were really hard and critiquing on me. A lot of people didn't like my personality. I really don't think they understood me, which was frustrating. And like the biggest thing as a human being, like that's the worst feeling, when you don't think that someone understands you.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like, man, like when I was like being mouthy or what would have been disrespectful, like there was a real reason for it. And so I was getting caught up in that. And I know I had a lot of hate. People were just like, oh, she's lucky. She has no technique, but damn, she goes in there swinging. So it was funny because after that fight, I really wanted that. I really had like the most belief in myself that I was going to win. And that was for my first, well, really, the Beck fight was for a belt too. But this one was really what I thought was my first chance at a belt that I was really going to get. And so to lose after it was a really hard pitfall. Thank God for my people out in California, because it didn't allow me to slip into that like depression isolation state. But it was like, wow. I remember being so crazy about it because everyone blew up my phone and messages are like, wow, what a fight. You were such a, and I'm like, I didn't win. And they're like, it doesn't matter. You showed what real female fighters are. You showed no quit. You stayed in there. You were going forward the whole time. I was like, damn, if that's what I had to do for you guys to like me and lay off me, it was like kind of like a funny, weird joke in between my team.
Right.
But then that opened up the doors because it was such a great fight. And you could tell that she was like, a good 30 pounds bigger than me. She was a lot bigger. I weighed in like 122 day of fight, and she was 147. So it was a big, huge weight difference. So I think everyone could see that. And they're like, all right, let's open up 115, because now there are more women interested. More women are coming into combat sports, and they are exciting and great fights. And so when they opened 115, that was really enough for me to like let it go. And I'm not really the best at letting stuff go. And that was one, like you said, a lesson, not a loss. And that really taught me just to let it go and to keep going and be thankful and grateful for everything that I do have, and the chances to like get it back. And because I
Mm-hmm.
know what it feels like to lose at the highest level, it's that, you can get through it.
Mm-hmm. I want to mention a couple more fights, but something I try to do anytime I interview someone is reach out to people from their past to get little bits of knowledge, maybe a funny story or just their opinion on that person. And I reached out to Christine and asked her if she maybe had a message she wanted to share with you because I was going to have you on today. And I'm 99% sure this is all compliment and no sarcasm, not 100%. But what she said is you have improved greatly your image as a person and your fight style. So I want to
Yeah,
share that with you.
we had a bomb time in Spain, and that was one of the moments. I really did. I
Hmm.
weirdly and oddly enough enjoyed my time in Spain with her. I've actually had a lot of moments with Christine, which is
Hmm.
funny. I think that's again part of the people not understanding
Yeah,
where like our beef, one, we're both very competitive and we want the same thing. So we're
sure.
like definitely like arch nemesis in that aspect. But then there's also a point where you have to grow past that and respect each
Hmm.
other because we are ultimately trying to do the
Yeah,
same thing. A
yeah.
little bit of different stories, but very, very similar, and not getting the respect that we deserve and being
Hmm.
different, and having that criticism so we can relate to each other
Yep.
with that, but also not letting that get in our way and stopping us. So in
Hmm.
Spain, I did have too good of a time with her. But I remember her saying that, like, I'm proud of you, like, going from, she was the one who kind of started and coined that whole Queen Ratchet thing,
Hmm.
which really get under my skin. But she's like, you've gone from Ratchet to, all right, Britt, you're doing the damn thing. So it's cool to
Respect.
hear. And I'm
Yep.
really, it really, yeah, it just makes me smile. So
Awesome. All right. Now for the good stuff. BKFC 29, Great Falls, Montana, against Carissa Segala.
yep,
I'm
Charissa Segala, the sweetheart.
redneck from Arkansas. Sorry.
You're
For
good.
the straw weight belt. Talk me through for your performance and how it finally felt to get that beautiful belt wrapped around your waist.
It was a weird. That one was a weird fight because it was supposed to be a different opponent, and she dropped out like very last minute. So big, like, shout out to Charissa for stepping up on a short notice.
Hmm.
Um, she also was a little bit bigger, so I was like, man, I was really excited for that fight because it was my first fight in BKFC at 115. So I'm like, well, that girl's not a one. Like, it's basically two girls that fought at 125, and now we're fighting at 115. So is it
Okay.
really 115? Like, this girl, you know what I mean? And so
Right.
I was a little bit worried because I was super lean, and I didn't cut weight at all for that fight.
Hmm.
Like, I was eating normal. And so, I know this girl's dropping weight last minute. So I was like a little unsure. But Montana, the thing about that is there's live time scoring. So every round, if you won or not. So
Okay.
I knew I was winning all the rounds. And it was a really great, again, one of those like, how do you top that performance? It was flawless because I was really at my natural weight and I was just moving so well. And again, I poured everything, like eat, breathe, sleep, fighting. And so I was just like really, really, I think I had a really great performance. But
Hmm.
when they gave me the belt, it was a weird, like, I was happy, but it was like, I kind of felt like, man, it's like, be careful what you wish for, because that moment when you're standing there with the judges, like the Paige Van Zandt fight, where you're like, I don't know, how did
Hmm.
it go? I know I won, but are they going to give it to me? But it was like a true, like, I know I won. They gave me the thing. So it wasn't like a surprise,
Right.
but it was, I remember holding the belt and immediately like just sweating, like it's weird that a
You felt
physical
the target.
object, yeah, like certain things hold power, and the belt is one of those. And when you
Hmm.
first have it for the first time, it's like almost like intimidating. That's why when I go out, you'll see I give my belt a lot of times to people and hold it for the pictures, because it's like I want to share that feeling with them. Like it's not, oh yeah, here's the belt. Well, it's like, whoa, this is oh, I didn't expect it to feel like this. It's like a little bit
Hmm.
shocking, and I love sharing that feeling with people because that's
That's
definitely
amazing.
what I felt like the first time.
All right. Your most recent fight against Ty Emery was what, 3 weeks ago? 3.5 weeks ago
Yep,
in
3.5 weeks.
Dubai. First, how incredible is Dubai? And secondly, is there anything that surprised you about the fight?
Dubai was incredible. I loved it on a cultural aspect and a travel aspect. We definitely were, I was really more mentally in my head for this fight probably than any fight. It was so crazy. Like, you think, I've been here before, but I put a lot of like stress and pressure on the fact that it was in Dubai. But overall, it was, when we started to say, hey, we're not going to get sucked into the lights and the doing
Hmm.
this and experience this. We're here for a job. Like, let's make it work related. Looking back on it now, I mean, I think everything happened the way it was, but I do wish I was like a little bit more like eased up and not so. I was a little rigid during that time, but it was probably a good thing because Dubai's, culture and everything like that. So it worked out. It was a good place
Right.
for you to be rigid. But yeah, that fight we knew honestly it went exactly that we planned for. I really did want the knockout, and I really was like super, super going for it. So there wasn't a time that I was like, nah. So that is still the truth. But I knew the first round she was going to come out super heavy. I knew that she
Hmm.
was really powerful. I knew that she was a pressure fighter, and then it was going to be forward, forward, forward the whole time. So I really was not shocked how the fight went. But I do think when I guess I've really never seen Ty like really crazy battle tested. I felt like she had some opponents, and because she got the early knockout, she really didn't have to like be in that struggle. And
Right.
that fight with Poe was just such an ugly fight, not for her, but because Poe just really didn't engage and wasn't in the firefight like Ty wanted to be. And so it was surprising, I think, for me, the third round. I was like, oh, I could tell she was tired and
Hmm.
exhausted. And I was like, all right, she's going to slow down. This is my time. And I could just see that look in her face. Like, I recognized it. Like, it was that look like, man, I don't care what happens. I'm not going to abandon my game plan. Like, just keep going and give it all I got. And I was like, oh, man, she's a real one. Like, I
Hmm.
recognize that look. And she's like, I'm going to have to put her down to stop her. And so I was a little bit surprised with the fact that she could take so much damage and still never abandon her
Hmm.
game plan. A lot of girls, they'll have a game plan, but when they incur damage like that, it's like, all right, like protect,
Hmm.
save, flight versus fight kind of thing.
Yep.
And she stayed in that fight all the way.
Awesome. Where do you see yourself in the sport in a couple years?
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of like these Instagram reels lately. I'm like really big into the motivational stuff. And I was seeing a couple come up with like Ronda Rousey and really
Hmm.
like kind of highlighting her journey and her story. And I was like, wow, a lot of it I was like, this is really familiar. Like this feels kind of the same. And it would be my hope that and I kind of tell myself even right now, like I don't feel like I'm as big as I could be or should be and stuff like that. And that's not to like take away from being grateful from the moment that I'm in. It's just how I
Sure.
feel. But I'm like, I have so much peace and hope with myself and the people that I put around me that I don't have to do too much.
Hmm.
Just keep being me and authentic and true to myself. And that in
Yeah.
a few years, people will say like your introduction, like people will know me as that and say that, and they'll be like, wow. And I've seen a couple things of people be like, my favorite BKFC fighter is Britain Hart, and it was coming from a male fighter. And I've seen a
Hmm.
couple female fighters that are like, man, I really look up to Britain Hart style. I'm like, wow, what if I really am a pioneer to women's sports? What if people really do look up to me and not just as a woman, but as a
Hmm.
fighter? Like, no, like blurred lines on gender roles. And wow, you're pretty good for a girl. It's wow, you're really good. And
Hmm.
I love that. So I would like to see myself in a few years being someone that is like a well-known name, like a Conor McGregor, like a Ronda Rousey, like anybody influential in boxing and fighting. You might not need to know too much about them, but you know who they are. And I think that would be like, man, I think that would be like,
Hmm.
man, I'm at a time in my life where I'm 35. I realized I can't fight forever. One of my biggest role models and icons is Heather Hardy. And, I really pay attention to her a lot
Mm-hmm.
and see what she's going through right now. And it's like, man, like, give these fighters their respect and what happens to them when they're done with their career. And we went out there and literally went to war and cut up our faces and got damage for people to be entertained. But what happens after that? And legacy is so cool. And Heather Hardy, I feel like, is one of those that she did that like authentically herself. And, the Brooklyn girl, tough, rough attitude, but says it how it is. But seeing her now, it's like, wow, like I want to be, she's inspires me to be,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope it's like taken as a compliment because I say it to the younger girls when they're like, I'd want to be just like you. And I'm like, no, you don't, be better than me. Like that's what I feel like you really want when you really love and care about this. And I feel like Heather is like that. I don't know exactly, but I really deep down, she doesn't have to say it. I feel that she wants to inspire women to be better than her career, and that's why she did it. And it wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
she was a sacrifice or martyr for it, but there's something beautiful in that aspect. So how can I do what Heather Hardy did but better and make a legacy and name for myself? And so she's just somebody that's super amazing, that gives me that hope and that reminder deep down to know, what does it really look like in 10 years
Right.
if I stay on this path?
Awesome. What is your best punch?
What is my best what?
Punch.
Punch. Oh, I definitely say my jab. I mean, I feel like in the earlier years of my career, everyone was like, whoa, that right hand, that right hand. I've had so many people compliment me on my right hand, but I broke it a couple times. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it really, like, I'm still working through it to this day. Honestly, I still get the compliment on my right hand. But I think that because I've broken it so much, there's a couple like deep rooted fear where I don't like
Sure.
push it all the way. Like I shorten it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wish I would stop doing that. But it's just a horrible, bad habit that I developed through, again, this crazy career. And so my jab has always been something that, I even remember I broke my right hand and it was right before a fight. And I wanted it so bad. And they're like, no, 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 your hand is broken. I'm like, but I have a jab. Like I can beat somebody with just my jab. I've done it before. Like let me go and do this. So I have so much confidence
Mm-hmm.
and love and just like, man, a good jab just sets everything up. And then my body style, I'm long and lanky and
Mm-hmm.
usually have the reach, so it just makes
Yep.
sense. So if it's not an advantage if you don't use it, so I feel like a jab would be the best punch for someone like me. So
There
I
we go.
made sure I exploited it 100%.
All right. If you could fight any fighter in history in their prime, who would it be?
I would definitely be Amanda Serrano. I think
Okay.
she's I love Alicia, and I think I'm still debate who's really the greatest woman of all time in this era, and it's between those two, but they're two different weight classes,
Mm-hmm.
really. So Amanda Serrano is more my weight class, so she's the best in the world. She's somebody that you always, I think, again, when you want to raise the bar and level up, that's what you have to look for. And so she's always been the best, and had that notoriety around her. So she's somebody. I got offered the fight one time, and I remember they offered me like $10,000 for it, and I was like, man, I really want to, but come on, like 10,000, like if you double it, I'll do it. And they're like, nope, not doing it. So I
Okay.
actually was offered the fight. It was one of the only fights I've ever, and it's not like I turned it down. I was just like, I stood up for myself for the value
Mm-hmm.
part, and they shut it down. They're like, nope, that's too much. And I was like, whoa. So now that I took that as kind of motivation and fuel to be like, well, gosh, I'm gonna go out and still win and be a superstar. And that's when I got the Paige. It was right before the Paige Van Sant fight, and I got that fight. And now that's like 4 years ago. So here we
Mm-hmm.
are, 4 years ago. The same name is kind of still stuck in the back of my head.
Okay. I'm to the last section of the interview. Some of these questions are going to be really silly. Some of them, I promise, you've never been asked before. Keep in mind, I'm not a professional. Here we go. What do you like better, pulled pork or brisket?
Brisket.
There we go. I figured out there in Virginia, you probably had a preference. All
Yeah.
right. Both in their prime, who wins, Ali or Tyson?
That's a hard one.
It is.
I would say Ali, just because I have to believe in that fight style, the in and out
Mm-hmm.
and the
Okay.
angles. But Mike
What's your,
Tyson, man, what a beast, dude. He just, that
yeah.
high, tight guard coming in and that, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, God, that's hard to beat, too.
I think if Ali could frustrate Mike, he could maybe get him a little rattled.
Right.
All right. What's your favorite animal at the zoo?
Well, it would have to be an aquarium, but I guess some
Okay.
zoos would have it too, but definitely a manatee. Manatees are
Oh
by
yeah,
far my favorite animal ever.
those things are awesome. One day I'm going to go to Florida and get in one of those clear boats and ride around.
I really feel like deep down, that's why I live and stay in Florida, because that's like the closest place I can be to my favorite
The
animal, which has
manatee.
been like an obsession since I was like 4 years old.
That's awesome. That's great. What's the best Rocky movie?
Um, that's a good one. They're all really good. I guess the first one, because the originals
There we
are,
go.
you can't. The first one's what always sets it up.
Yep. All right. Am I more likely to catch you drinking coffee or an energy drink?
Energy drink for sure.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, I do, but
You can't say.
they're all so good. It doesn't matter. They're all
There we
really
go.
great.
I'm a huge fan of the new Miami flavor from Bucked Up. It's awesome if you haven't tried it.
Oh, I haven't actually.
It's very good.
There was a Miami one for Monster. It's like kind of lava, but I didn't really like it, honestly.
I didn't like
wasn't
that
a
one
fan.
either.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
The Bucked Up Miami tastes like a can of fruit cocktail.
Whoa, I'm gonna try it out.
All right. This next question I ask everyone. I don't know why, but I do. In your bathroom at home, does the toilet paper come over the roll towards you or down behind?
Over.
Okay. Sorry, I ask everyone.
No, when it's under, honestly, now that I think about when it's under, I'm like, why is it like that? Go over.
I've had people say that they freak out and start yelling. People say they quietly take it off and switch it back around. It's everyone's different.
Right.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes, absolutely. And it's the best way to have pizza.
There we go. All right. Again, both in their prime. Who wins between Christy Martin and Clarissa Shields?
Tough one. I've never met Clarissa Shields, and I have Christy Martin, and I've had the pleasure to work with her, so I'm going to say Christy Martin.
There we go. All right. You're going to commit a bank robbery, and you've got to take two people with you, a gunman and a getaway driver. Who are they?
Gosh. So my boyfriend, definitely.
Okay.
I think he would be the getaway driver. So I would really trust him to do that. And then the gun, gosh, a gunsman. Let me think. You know what? It's funny just because it's on the top of my mind, but I have a really great friend named Rachel, and
Okay.
she just cracks me up. And she's one of those ride or die. If she's mad enough and I need her to shoot someone.
There you go. All right. During research for this, I discovered that you and I have a mutual friend, I guess is the word you could use. He smells like cigars. He reeks of bourbon. He's mean. He never answers his phone calls. What is your experience with Nick Sampson over at HKA?
Oh, I love Nick. Nick is somebody, wow, he's one of those great, that's the reason why he is like motivational videos 101 for me. I have met him a long time ago, probably 7 years now. And I remember living out in California, and really what opened my heart to him. Not just that he gives me boxing gloves or sponsors me or is in the sports world, just like
Sure.
human to human. I had a phone conversation with him in California where I don't know what I was going through, but I was like unsure of myself for whatever reason.
Hmm.
And he had a phone conversation with me that just, again, changed my whole trajectory on how I thought and mental, and was like, wow,
Hmm.
I needed what he said to me that day was really important and impactful. And I still remember it to this day. And here we are, he's doing this, I'm doing that, but we always find this crazy way to meet up and bump into each other. I was doing this thing with Brawl Energy in Ohio, and he came and brought his girls, and I was sitting there coloring with them and playing with them, and it was just wow. It was a cool thing to say that we're not just in this for money or
Hmm.
notoriety, but like we are a family and we do believe in each other on a human to human level. And he is, I see him in Philly, like he's just somebody if I hear
Hmm.
from or talk to, it just again flashback to that phone conversation in California I'll never forget.
Yeah. Jay Davis is also a mutual friend of ours. He's someone that's been very, very helpful to me over the last few months. I can always reach out to Jay, and he'll give me the straight truth about anything.
Yep, Jay is another one. He is a real one, and
Hmm.
and Nick, I think. Well, no, it wasn't really Nick. It was Wes that kind of connected us together. But it was like when you know. And I remember the first time really meeting him. It was like, this is a great person, and he's
Hmm.
always been that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I found out recently you're going to be going. I don't want to call it a vacation trip, work to Mexico later this week. What's that all about?
Yeah, yeah, another impactful, place and people and home away from home. When I go there, I feel like in my life, I've had a lot of really great, amazing moments, but
Hmm.
I've never felt so special or celebrity like I have in Mexico. Like Mexico, man, they just from the mariachi band to the
Hmm.
places we take out to the people in the square that come and take pictures. And again, what a beautiful thing. I mean, some people speak English, some people don't. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Like the body language, the energy, like I have never felt that much just like energy on
Hmm.
stardom that I have there. And so there are people that again, with Nelson Lopez, he's one of my ride or dies. I've known
Hmm.
Nelson
Yep.
from my second pro boxing match. So eight
Wow.
years now. We started BKFC together. There's so many people around there. Buddy with Martinez Jim and his whole
Hmm.
family from Meg and Sylvia. I mean, they're all like, we are like fight family. Like, we know each other's kids. We meet each other's mom and dads. Like,
That's
it
awesome.
is really like, it's one of those things that it could never really be work or business because they really are family and we do stuff no matter what. Like, we're there and we're like big support systems for each other. We can feel when we're down or when we need stuff and provide and just make sure we're special, like feel special. So that's what that's about. They're having a new fight down there. I've had so much experience in Mexico, specifically Aguascalientes. And I've been a scout. I've run tryouts down there. I've
Okay.
gone to a boxing. I've done bare knuckle fights down there. I've opened a gym, and not like
Nice.
but like with
Sure.
Martinez Gym, I've met the mayor, the people that work in politics there, and they're all like just amazing people. So
Hmm.
of course, whenever they need me or say something, so now they're opening this new Trigon
Hmm.
sport, and wow, I can't wait to see it. The facility is immaculate, it's beautiful, but if I'm being honest, I mean that's super cool. I can't wait for the fights, but the people there, it's just what it is.
Awesome. Uh, let's see here. What is something that you enjoy that most people don't know about?
Well, I think a lot of people know about it, but I do. I think some people do get surprised to find out. But I love Pokemon, huge into
Okay.
it. I play Pokemon. Like even in Dubai, one of my coaches walked over and he saw me and my other coach playing Pokemon Go. He's like, "Are you guys really playing Pokemon Go right now?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're getting our Dubai Pokemon." So I love it. My birthday was in February, and my son got me a stuffed animal Sobble that I
Awesome.
was just like, "Oh, I could cry." So for those who don't know, Sobble is a crying Pokemon. So it was so cute, and I love, I'm really big into Pokemon. Whether it movies, the games, I've played, played on the
Mhm.
Switch. I had, when I was younger, I had a Game Boy Color.
Yeah,
So I just, it's followed me from my childhood all the way to my adulthood, and it's something me and my kids get along with, me and my friends, me and my family. Like we all kind of we really bond over that.
that's awesome. I have two daughters, and they are both Pokemon fanatics. And I'm not joking. I've probably spent $4,000 in the last 5 years on Pokemon cards and sleeves to put them in and folders to organize them. So I totally understand.
Yeah, thank God my son's 15 and he's gotten to the point where he does. But I remember having moments where I got him like these special cards and I go in there
Hmm.
on the floor and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, no.
Yeah,
He's like, but mom, we play with them. I'm like, no, some of them we don't. Some of them we
right.
just look at.
Yeah, exactly. All right. As you know, I try to hopefully inspire people with these interviews. Anyone out there who's going through struggles in life, it could be addiction, abuse, financial, gambling, sex addiction, whatever that is, nobody gets out of this life without going through hardship. What message would you share with people who might be thinking about going up, giving up, or have no clue how to keep going?
Yeah, again, you're right. Like we've all been there. And in my rock bottom moments, if I could go back and what I would say to get out of it is that you can choose to get out of it. You just have to do it. And it seems impossible and it might be so overwhelming, but just do it. Like you don't have
Hmm.
anything to lose. If you're really rock bottom and going through stuff, like man, like just do whatever it takes. If it's one step, if it's, finding something that makes you feel alive in that moment is the most important
Hmm.
because you're not going to make a change if you're around bad people, their
Right,
negativity, like you just, and no matter, and it hurts, it does, I'm not going to lie, like to cut people out of your life, it's painful and hurts and not everyone's going to understand it, but you do. And whatever it is that you understand that will get you away from whatever problem you're going through, just do it. No matter how hard, painful, confusing people are in your ear, you just have to take that first step forward, whatever it is. And nothing's worse than losing your life. And that's kind of like
yeah.
at the worst, I think about, well, what if this, what if that, what are people going to think of me? But it's like, well, if I stay in this situation, I might lose me or everything that I care about, and that's not really worth it.
Gotcha. Outside of fighting and being nice enough to share your time with rednecks in Arkansas, what do you do with your life? Hobbies.
Gosh, it's kind of like the better question is what I don't do.
Okay.
So I think people, which is cool. I feel like I have like my like biggest thing is like I really go through like identity crisis a lot. Where like I think 2 years ago I switched it and worked out through that. Where it's like, man, who am I? Like, what am I really? Am I a fighter? Am I mom? Am I best friend? Do I work? Do I this? Do I care about money? Do I care about dreams? What is it? And I'm like, and then I just put a post on Instagram too, which I was like, yo, if I post just fighting stuff, how many followers am I going to lose? And if I post other stuff, how many followers am I going to?
Right.
And like, it gets to be so much sometimes. It's just like, yo, be you. And I think for me, I really have adopted that to where that's my identity. Like, I do a little bit of everything and I love it. And life is about living it to the fullest. If it's going to try a new trade and a job that you think, like being an electrician and working with like in the water and scuba diving with alligators, cool, you did that. If it's in the studio making music, cool, do that. If it's starting your own brand, cool, do that. But life is about experiences. And so
Hmm.
if I could walk away, like not just being the world champ and like one who did it at the best and highest and amazing level, but I did it because I was true to myself and had so many life experiences that fueled me, that the reason why nobody can beat me is because my why is so big and so expanded from doing everything and understanding people like hiking and outdoor enthusiasts and then people that are video game nerds. Like we all have a place and stuff in
Hmm.
this life, and it's cool to see that perspective. So for me, I feel like, life is about experiences and trying it. Like in June, I might go do a stand-up comedy show. Never have done stand-up comedy, and it's not my hobby. I don't really do it, but every once in a while, I'll get into listening to stand-up comedians, and I'll be like, yo, I can do that and should do that, and get inspired. Like, what if I did that? And, my brain just dreams about like what it would look like, and I imagine it. I'm like, let's just go see. Maybe I fall flat on my face and people boo me, and maybe I'm really good, but the only way to find out is by doing it. So I'm really one that's really embodies that. Like, I really can't think of anything I don't do. I love video games. I love being outside. I love sports. I love fashion. I love being a girl. I love being a tomboy. I love cooking. I love eating. I love going on
Hell
diets.
yeah.
I love being healthy. It's just a place and time for everything, and just knowing when to be present in that moment.
That's awesome. What is the best way for fans and friends of yours to keep up with you these days?
I would say Instagram, Team Britain Heart. Back in
Okay.
the day, I used to be really big on TikTok and loved it, but what ruined it? The whole we're gonna get rid of it, we're gonna delete it, blah blah blah. I was like, oh, I can't take it anymore. So, and I don't
Right?
really have time. This video is like, seriously, like, people don't. Again, from experience, don't hate on TikTokers because their jobs are. I mean, it takes so much
Yeah.
time and finesse to put those videos together. I mean, I would make one video and I would love it. It would take me like 2 hours to make, and it,
Hmm.
it it fueled my like creativity part of my brain. Like, I loved it. I felt a sense of accomplishment when I made a good video. I loved it, but it takes too much time out of my day to do it now, since I've been so extra busy with other stuff. But my Instagram, again, is such a big thing in today's world with social media.
Hmm.
If I'm on Facebook, it's more like I literally need help or need to discover something and more connect and have the time to.
Hmm.
But Instagram is a great way to have a quick, like, hey, what's up? Or hey, I need something, or, just support that keeps me going. So again, like
Right.
the stories and from Charlotte to my first bare knuckle fight, Instagram is very much today what that feeling is. When I go to Instagram and I see a comment on my post that's like, wow, Britton, you're inspiration, or you're so cool, keep rocking it, champ. Like, you guys are fueling and making my life seriously better. Like, you are making my life better when I see that. And then you're helping me be prosperous and helping a girl with their dream, because now everything is so hyper focused on followers and likes. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's annoying and frustrating, but that's the time we live in. So if you have the
Yep.
time to help me out and do it, it is a huge help, and I'll notice it and I'll pay it. When I get the time, that's the very first place I go to like be like, man, thank you guys, because we're in it to win it together.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you want to share before we hop off here?
Just I really love this and enjoyed it. Shout out
Thank you.
to my team and everyone who's supporting me for my fight, my sponsors last fight. I still want to ride high with them. So Muscle Meds, Magic Dose, HKA, which is Nick. Seriously, Awesome Disc, Drippy Hippie, Level Up, relax and get results. Thank you guys so much. Like, I would have not had the camp and the success in Dubai to be sitting here to have this interview without you guys.
That's awesome. Britton, I want
Oh,
to
the
say thank
Healthy
you.
Kitchen,
Oh,
they're
yes.
they're ones too. That I can't. The Healthy Kitchen, Miami. Oh man, wow. They're somebody too, much like Nick from HKA, who have
Okay.
been with me years and years ago. So, wow, what an amazing family and place. So if you need some healthy meals and you're in the South Florida area, Chef Eric is the one.
Hit them up.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Britton, from the bottom of my heart. I tell everyone I don't mean to do this. I guess it's subliminal respect. Um,
Yes.
I appreciate your time. It's the most valuable commodity on the planet. And the fact that you just shared an hour of your life to help people through this podcast, it means the world to me. At this point, I've talked to you enough. I feel like I consider you a friend, and I hope you consider me one as well. Um, I'll get this uploaded to YouTube. I'll send you the first copy. If for any reason you don't like it, let me know and I'll take it down.
Sweet. Thanks, Mike. It really means a lot.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.